They decided to take the other Caribs prisoners and eventually sent them back to Spain. But there was one indigenous girl amongst this group of people that caught Cuneo's eye. Cuneo did not bother getting her name, but he inadvertently recorded the first essay between a European and a Native American in the Western Hemisphere. And I will share with you word for word what he wrote. He writes the following: "While I was on the boat, I captured a very beautiful woman, whom the Lord Admiral, who was Colon, gave to me. When I had taken her to my cabin, she was naked, as was their custom. I was filled with a desire to take my pleasure with her, and attempted to satisfy my desire. She was unwilling, and so treated me with her nails, that I wished I had never begun. I then took a piece of rope and whipped her soundly, and she let forth such incredible screams that you would not have believed your ears. Eventually, we came to such terms, I assure you, that you would have thought she had been brought up in a school for whores." He describes how she clawed at him to the point where he started to regret trying to violate her. And as you go through the other documents of these explorers, you can clearly tell that they saw these women just as sexual objects. They go on to describe even more explicitly their bodies, the tightness of their vaginas, and it's just, you can tell that there was absolutely no respect. Oviedo writes, "The men who have had sexual intercourse with these Indian women say that they are so tight that it is with pain that a man may gratify his passion. Those who have not borne children seem to be almost virgins." And as most of us know, for the Spanish and Europe in general at this time, women's virginity was a topic of massive discussion. And that is why women were controlled to the level that they were controlled, because it was women who had the power to reproduce. Taino and Carib women were not enslaved because of just their sexuality. We know that Taino women had freedom of sexuality. They could choose to be with whoever they wanted to. Carib women were enslaved for the most part. However, it is now believed that there were two sets of Carib women. One set was the Taino women that were captured and enslaved on the islands, and the other were the actual Carib women who were basically relatives of the men who were kidnapping the Taino women. And this produced like a dual culture. The Caribs were split because they allowed the Taino women to continue their culture and to preserve their culture. And while most of the men had a completely different culture. And the topic of the indigenous women's beauty comes up again and again. And it is said that all kinds of wars were fought because of them, because men wanted to possess them. It came to a point where the Spanish concluded that in order for them to infiltrate fully the social structure of the Tainos, they had to marry the caciques' daughters. So in the repartimiento of 1514, we see several white Spanish caciques because they had married the caciques' daughters. So it was through this interaction between this young Carib girl and the Italian Michel de Cuneo was the beginning of the rise of the Dominican nation and of all the other mixed nations in the Caribbean. The missing link, obviously, at this point are the Africans, but they're soon to arrive in the next couple of years. We don't know what happened to this Carib girl after this incident. However, it is believed that it could be possible that she was taken as a wife for one of the men. Possibly for Michel de Cuneo himself. What we can say, though, is that this girl gave the Spanish a preview of what to expect. The indigenous women were not just going to simply allow them to do whatever they wanted. They fought back. Michel de Cuneo, even though he thought he was bragging about what he did to this girl, now in our time, he is seen as the disgusting man that he actually was.